Life as a hotel manager isn't just about handling reservations and room service. It's about staying calm when everything around you feels chaotic. I'm Erica, 32, and I've dealt with all kinds of demanding guests. But this guy, he stood out. He walked in wearing a suit that probably cost more than my paycheck and kept fiddling with his expensive phone. At first glance, he seemed like just another wealthy guest. Then came the complaint. He stormed down to the lobby, furious, claiming his room wasn't cleaned properly, something about the towels. He looked ready to blow up at anyone who dared cross his path. That's when I stepped in. "Sir, I understand you're upset. Let me take care of this for you," I said, keeping my tone calm and professional. He seemed surprised, maybe because I wasn't falling over myself apologizing. I quickly sent someone to his room with fresh towels and an apology. Problem solved. When he came back later, his temper had cooled. "You handled that well," he said with a small nod of approval. "Thanks. We aim to please," I replied with a smile. That's when we started talking. His name was Logan, and he wasn't just a businessman. He was a cryptocurrency investor, whatever that meant, and told me he'd made a fortune. Now he was just traveling to see the world. I listened, nodding along, thinking it was typical rich guy talk. The next day, after his city tour, he surprised me. He showed up at the front desk holding a small bouquet of flowers. "For handling the chaos yesterday," he said, handing them to me. I laughed, taking the flowers. "Are you trying to make me blush or something?" I teased. "Maybe," he replied with a charming smirk. From then on, it became a daily thing. Every morning for the next few days, I'd find a small bouquet waiting for me at the desk. They weren't fancy, but they were thoughtful, and it was a nice change from the usual routine. And then, just like that, it was time for him to check out. With his suitcase in hand and his usual cool demeanor, he walked up to me one last time. Before leaving, he looked me in the eye and asked, "Can I get your number?" I gave him my number without thinking much about it, but then something strange happened. I missed him. I missed our little chats and the flowers he left every morning. It was odd because I wasn't usually like this. A few days later, my phone rang and it was him. "Hey, Erica. How about dinner? I owe you for the amazing service, and I don't think the flowers were enough," he said. My heart started racing faster than I expected. "Sure, Logan. Dinner sounds great. Fantastic. I'll pick you up at 9, he said. "Yeah, see you then," I replied, hanging up. I stared at my phone, wondering what I was getting myself into. Was this just a casual dinner, or was it something more? I wasn't sure, but I was definitely looking forward to seeing him again. At exactly 9, Logan showed up as promised. He wasn't driving anything flashy, just a nice car that didn't scream, "I'm rich," but you could tell it wasn't cheap. "So, where are we heading?" I asked, trying to sound casual as I buckled my seatbelt. "There's this little Italian place I know. Quiet, cozy, great food. You'll love it," he said as we pulled out of my apartment complex. The restaurant was exactly as he described, cozy and tucked away on a side street I'd passed 100 times but never noticed. We got a table in the back corner. The dim lighting and quiet setting made it perfect for a real conversation. As we settled in, Logan waved off the menus. "Let's just go with the chef's specials. Trust me." "Look at you, all adventurous," I teased. He chuckled. "Life's too short for boring food, Erica." Dinner started with light conversation, work, the weather, and other small talk. But as the dishes kept coming and the wine flowed, the conversation turned deeper. "So, Erica, tell me something," Logan said, leaning in with genuine curiosity. "What's it like managing an entire hotel on your own?" "It seems like a tough job. It's hectic, chaotic," I admitted. "It's not just about managing bookings and dealing with complaints. It's about managing people, their needs, their problems. Some days I feel more like a therapist than a manager," I admitted, stirring my pasta. Logan nodded, sipping his wine. "Sounds intense. Must feel good, though, knowing it all works smoothly because of you." "It does," I said. "But enough about me. What about you? Traveling around and investing in crypto sounds like a big risk." He laughed, a deep, warm sound. It's a calculated risk, Erica. But yeah, it's a gamble. I've won some, lost some, but I'm ahead overall. It's all about knowing when to hold on and when to let go. I raised an eyebrow. Sounds like you're talking about more than just money. Maybe I am, he replied, his eyes locking with mine for a moment that felt longer than it should. Then he shifted the topic. What about family, Erica? Do you have anyone besides your sisters? The question caught me off guard. Family wasn't something I liked to talk about. It's just Kate and me. My parents passed away in a car accident when I was 23. I had to grow up fast and take care of Kate. She's all I've got. Logan's face softened. That's tough, taking on all that responsibility. You're strong, Erica. Not everyone could handle that. The conversation flowed easily after that. Logan opened up about his family, strained relationships, high expectations, and why he preferred being on the road. It's simpler this way. Less drama, he said. We ended dinner laughing over a shared dessert, the earlier awkwardness melting away. On the drive home, the city lights blurred past, casting flickering shadows in the car. I really enjoyed tonight, he said as he pulled up in front of my apartment. It felt real. Me too, Logan. It was nice to just talk, you know? No pretending, I said. He smiled, a slow, easy smile that seemed to light up his whole face. Exactly. So, how about we do this again? Sunday. I didn't even hesitate. Yeah, I'd like that. As I got out of the car, I realized I was smiling too. It felt good, easy, like maybe I was stepping into something special. But I brushed the thought aside as I headed to my apartment. The night still felt young, and my heart was a little lighter than before. The weeks flew by like cars on a busy highway, and before I even realized it, Logan and I weren't just dating anymore. We were engaged. Yeah, engaged. It sounded crazy, but it felt right. When you're on cloud 10, you don't really notice how fast everything is moving. Not long after Logan proposed, he moved into my apartment. One night, while we were lounging on the couch surrounded by Chinese takeout boxes, he brought up the wedding. Erica, I've been thinking we should go big for our wedding. You deserve a day as beautiful as you are, he said, serious as ever. I laughed so hard a piece of fried rice almost flew out of my mouth. Big, huh? What are we talking about? Because my idea of big is adding an extra scoop of ice cream to my sundae. But Logan wasn't joking. No, really, Kim. I mean a proper celebration. Something unforgettable. Here's the plan. You chip in $70,000 for the wedding, and I'll cover the honeymoon. We'll stay at the fanciest hotel in the world. And after that, I'll buy us a house, a place to start our life together. It sounded like a dream, and even though it was a lot of money, I didn't hesitate. I was head over heels, caught up in the magic of it all. All right, let's do it, I said. Just like that, I agreed to drain my savings for one spectacular day. Planning started quickly. I handed over my savings and Logan took charge of everything. He was all about making it extravagant. It's going to be perfect, Erica. Just you wait, he promised. One afternoon, I introduced Logan to my sister, Kate. We met her at the local diner where she worked. Logan turned on his charm right away. So, this is the famous sister I've heard so much about, he said, flashing his $1 million smile. Well, you're just as beautiful as Erica. Kate blushed and fussed with her apron. Thanks. Erica's told me a lot about you, too. All good things, of course. I watched them, feeling a strange mix of pride and something else. Nervousness? Jealousy? I couldn't quite figure it out. Kate and I were close, really close, but watching her laugh at Logan's jokes a little too much tied my stomach in knots. Hey, I'll grab us some coffees. Be right back, Logan said, heading to the counter and leaving Kate and me alone at the booth. You like him, huh? Kate nudged me, keeping her voice low. I do, I admitted. It's all happening so fast, but it feels right. I admitted it, trying to convince myself as much as I was trying to convince her. The rest of our visit was light and cheerful, but Logan's words about the wedding and his compliment to Kate kept replaying in my mind. The weeks leading up to the wedding were a whirlwind of activities, color swatches, cake tastings, and endless to-do lists. Logan threw himself into the planning with so much energy that it was both sweet and, honestly, a little overwhelming. As the big day got closer, I felt excited but also a bit anxious. Not about marrying Logan, but about making sure everything went perfectly. One sunny afternoon, I stood on a pedestal at a bridal boutique, surrounded by mirrors. The shop assistant fluffed the train of a gown I was trying on. The dress was beautiful, no doubt, but I wasn't sure if it felt like the one. "You look stunning, Kim." "This has to be the dress," my best friend Sophie gushed from her seat in the corner of the fitting room. I turned slightly, looking at the lace details. "I don't know. Maybe it's too much. I don't want to look like a giant cupcake." Just then, laughter rang out from the fitting room next to mine, familiar laughter. I peeked around the curtain, and there she was, Kate, standing on a pedestal, wearing a bridal gown. She looked, well, like a bride. "Kate? What in the world are you doing in a wedding dress?" I stammered, my confusion and surprise clear in my voice. She spun around, her eyes wide when she saw me. "Oh, Kim, it's not what it looks like. I was just trying it on for fun, you know? Seeing what it feels like." "For fun?" I repeated, my brain struggling to make sense of the situation. "Yeah, just a bit of pretend. I mean, when else am I going to wear something like this?" she said with a laugh, but it sounded strained. She wouldn't meet my eyes. We left the boutique with no decision on my dress, but the image of Kate in that gown stayed with me. It followed me all the way home. At dinner, Logan noticed my quiet mood. "Something on your mind, babe?" he asked, handing me the salt. I shook my head and poked at my food. "It's nothing. Just wedding jitters, I guess." Later that night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the memory of Kate in that wedding dress wouldn't leave me. Her excuse, "try it on for fun," didn't feel right. It was like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit, no matter how hard I tried to make it work. But what could I do? Accuse my sister of something just because of a gut feeling? The next day, I decided to stop by the diner where Kate worked. She was wiping down tables, her back to me. Something about her posture made me pause. I walked up to her casually. "Hey, sis," I said, trying to keep my voice light. She turned around, her smile bright and cheerful.
"Kim,
what brings you here?" "More wedding planning chaos." "Something like that," I replied, leaning on the counter. "Actually, I wanted to ask you about yesterday, the whole wedding dress thing. Was it really just for fun?" Her smile faltered for just a split second before she quickly recovered. "Yeah, of course. What else would it be?" I studied her face, looking for the little sister I thought I knew so well. "Just checking. You tell me if there was more to it, right?" "Of course," she said, but her reply came too quickly, too rehearsed. "Don't worry about me, Kim. I'm just happy for you, really." As I left the diner, a heavy feeling settled in my chest. Something didn't feel right. I could sense it, but digging into something that might tear everything apart so close to my wedding felt risky. Was I ready to face the truth? Not yet, I decided.
not yet."
The next morning was chaotic, as usual. Logan rushed out for his meetings, but today he left something behind, his phone. It buzzed nonstop on the kitchen table, lighting up with notification after notification. Curiosity gnawed at me. It felt like the universe itself was telling me to look. I hesitated, but then I picked it up. To my surprise, there was no password. Odd, for someone so tech-savvy, but Logan always said he had nothing to hide. The screen lit up with a message from an unsaved number, yet one that was all too familiar. "Can't wait to see you later. Yesterday was amazing." My stomach dropped. A reply from Logan followed. "Me too. I hate hiding like this, but soon we won't have to." My hands shook. This couldn't be real. There had to be an explanation. I scrolled through their messages, each one feeling like a dagger to my chest. The affectionate nicknames, the secret plans, the inside jokes. And then I saw it, a selfie. Logan and Kate, my own sister, sitting together at a cafe I'd been to countless times with both of them. They looked so happy, laughing as if they had no care in the world. I kept scrolling, my heart pounding, and that's when I saw the truth. Kate was pregnant, with Logan's child. They were plotting to kick me out of my own wedding. She was going to take my place at the altar. Their words were like poison. They mocked me, called me a fool, a naive cash cow. They laughed about how they'd use my money to fund their wedding. Betrayal twisted in my gut like a knife. After everything I had done for them, this is how they repaid me. My heart sank as the weight of their deception crashed down on me. After everything I'd done for Kate since our parents passed away, this was how she repaid me. Anger boiled inside me, but I forced it down, letting cold calculation take over. Revenge sparked in my mind, sharp and clear, but I knew I had to stay calm and in control. I wiped my tears, took a deep breath, and steadied myself. When Logan walked back into the apartment an hour later, I was ready. Phone in hand, a smile fixed on my face, I played my part. "Oh, you forgot this," I said, holding out his phone like it was just another normal morning. Logan looked relieved as he grabbed it.
Thanks, babe.
Thought I'd lost it for good. He tried to joke, but there was a nervous edge to his laugh. "You didn't look through it, did you?" "Why would I?" I replied, keeping my voice light. "Trust is key, right?" "Right, trust," Logan echoed, his eyes flickering with something. Was it guilt? He kissed my forehead, a gesture that felt hollow. "I'll see you tonight." "Love you." "Love you too," I said, forcing the words out even though they tasted bitter. As soon as the door shut behind him, my smile crumbled. Alone, I let the act fall away, but not my resolve. They thought they could fool me, use me, and toss me aside.
No.
I was going to turn their betrayal against them. They wouldn't see it coming. The wedding day arrived bright and sunny, like something out of a fairy tale. But this wasn't a happy story. This was a dark one. As I stood next to Logan in my pristine wedding gown, every guest whispered about how perfect we looked together. None of them knew what was about to happen. Just as we were about to exchange vows, a commotion at the back of the room made everyone turn. There she was, Kate, my sister, wearing a wedding dress and looking breathless, as if she'd run the whole way. She didn't stop to explain or apologize. She pushed through the crowd, heading straight for us. "Sorry I'm late," she said, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear, "but I couldn't let this happen without telling you the truth." "I deserve to be here more than she does," Kate announced, glaring at me. Then she turned to Logan, her eyes shining with a desperate kind of triumph. "Tell them, Logan. Tell them about us, and the baby." Logan chuckled, the sound echoing mockingly through the now silent room. He looked at me with a cruel smirk. "Thanks, Erica, for putting together such a beautiful wedding. It's everything we wanted." The guests gasped, their shocked whispers quickly turning into a loud buzz of disbelief. I kept my smile calm and steady, stepping back with grace. "Oh, I don't mind being a guest at this spectacle," I said, my tone cool. Logan and Kate exchanged confused glances, clearly thrown off by my reaction. Their moment of triumph didn't last long, though. The door swung open, and an older woman stormed in, her eyes blazing with fury. She marched straight down the aisle, her voice cutting through the room. "I hope you're enjoying your wedding, you lying cheat," she yelled, pointing at Logan. Logan's face drained of color. His eyes widened in shock. "Kim, what are you doing here?" "I'm his wife, that's what," Kim declared, turning to the stunned crowd. "And the mother of his daughter, whom he hasn't supported in months." Kate stumbled backward, her face pale as her dream wedding crumbled before her eyes. She glanced at me, then at Logan, her expression breaking into despair. I stepped forward, my voice loud and clear so everyone could hear. "I hired a private investigator when I started suspecting something was off. Turns out, our dear groom here isn't just a cheater, he's a con artist. His so-called investments? Failures. His debts? Through the roof. And yes, he's still married with a child he's been neglecting." The room fell into a heavy silence, broken only by Kim's angry sobs and Kate's quiet whimpers. Logan tried to speak, his mouth opening and closing, but the disgusted stares from the guests and the raw betrayal in Kate's eyes left him stumbling over his words. I turned to the crowd, my voice steady despite the chaos. "I loved him. I trusted him. I was a fool. But today, I'm taking back control of my life. This wedding, this mess, it's all his doing. Let him face the consequences. After that, chaos exploded. Kim, the furious wife, demanded answers. Guests shouted questions, and Kate sobbed as the full weight of Logan's betrayal hit her. The disaster of the wedding day was bad enough, but the surprises weren't over. Right after Kim had exposed Logan's lies, another pair stormed in, Logan's parents. They looked like they'd been hit by a storm of disappointment. The room fell silent as Logan's father stepped forward, his voice booming with anger that echoed off the walls. "I just found out about the disgusting things my son has done," he said, his words dripping with disdain. "Not only has he deceived Erica, trying to humiliate her in front of us all, but he's been hiding his marriage to Kim, whom he abandoned." Logan tried to speak, his voice barely above a whisper. "Dad, Enough," his father interrupted. "You've shamed us more than we could have ever imagined. Your mother, and I cannot believe the son we raised could stoop so low." His disappointment was written all over his face, cutting deeper than his words. Logan's mother, a stern woman who had been silently watching the chaos, finally spoke. Her voice was cold and sharp. "We are ashamed of you, Logan. As of today, you are no longer part of this family, or our will. You've shown your true self, and we want nothing to do with your deceit." The room buzzed with whispers as the guests pieced together the disaster. Meanwhile, Logan stood frozen, pale, and shrinking under the weight of it all. His charm was gone, replaced by the reality of his actions. The next day, I met with a lawyer. I filed a lawsuit to get back the $70,000 I had poured into what was supposed to be our wedding. With the evidence I had, the court quickly saw through Logan's lies and ruled in my favor. He was ordered to repay every penny. But that wasn't the end of his troubles. Kim wasn't about to let him off easily either. She filed her own lawsuit, demanding not just the return of her investments, but also alimony for their daughter, who Logan had barely acknowledged. She was determined to make him pay for all the pain and abandonment he had caused. The last I heard, Kim was on a mission to hold Logan accountable for every wrong he'd done. Watching him crumble under the weight of his own lies and face the consequences of his actions gave me a bittersweet sense of closure. I had lost $70,000, but getting it back felt like reclaiming my dignity and a sense of control over my life. After the chaos of what was supposed to be my wedding day, my life settled into a quiet routine much faster than I had expected. Logan, my ex-fiancé, left town right after the disaster ceremony and the legal fallout, leaving behind broken promises and my very pregnant, very alone sister, Kate. Days turned into weeks, and I threw myself into hobbies and time with friends like Sophie. Slowly, I found a sense of peace that had been missing during my whirlwind engagement to Logan. Pottery classes, long evening walks, and Sunday nights out started to stitch my life back together. One chilly afternoon, while sketching the bare trees against a winter sky at the park, my phone buzzed. It was Kate. She had tried to reach out a few times since everything happened, but I hadn't been ready to talk. This time wasn't much different, but I answered anyway, more out of reflex than desire. "Erica, can we talk?" Kate's voice was soft, almost a whisper, and I could hear the strain in it. "I'm listening," I said, keeping my tone neutral as my fingers tightened around my sketchpad. I know I messed up. More than messed up. I'm sorry, doesn't even cover it, but I'm so sorry, Erica. And I need help, she admitted, her voice cracking with emotion. "You're not the first person to go through this, and you won't be the last," I replied, surprised by the coldness in my own voice. "You'll figure it out, Kate. You have to." There was a heavy pause, filled with unspoken words and emotions that might never fully heal. "If that's how you feel, I understand," she said quietly. "I hope one day you can forgive me." As I picked up my sketch pad and focused on the stark lines of the winter trees, I realized that moving on wasn't just about staying busy. It was also about facing the hard truths of betrayal and learning to trust myself again. Life moved forward. Coffee dates with Sophie became a space to talk about anything but Logan and Kate. Pottery classes let my hands shape new creations, symbols of fresh beginnings. Quiet evenings at home brought peace and a deeper connection to myself. Through it all, I rebuilt a life that was truly mine, no longer overshadowed by the lies of those I had once trusted.